Hello, my name is Benjamin Hart. I'm an American attorney and the managing director of Integrity Legal here in Bangkok, Thailand. As we've started seeing things kind of open up a bit more, I've been having, frankly, more conversations with just folks that, I meet sort of around, out and about, and it's been a little wild. It's been a little bit, I won't say unsettling or unnerving, but it has been surprising because I guess I've been kind of used to almost being a recluse the last couple of years due to all the restrictions on what you could do, where you could go, and then hardly anybody was coming into Thailand, which had a substantial impact on things. So, yeah, I guess I'm just talking to more people, but there's one thing that I've kind of noticed, which is there seems to be a lot of incorrect thinking maybe, or just maybe not fully grasping sort of the way Thai culture operates, sort of the way it is. And what I would call this, when thinking of Thailand, I like to use the term conservative tolerance. And the reason for this is Thailand is far more conservative than most people make it out to be or think it is. And I can understand this, especially based on the fact that many folks are tourists to Thailand and they only interact with Thailand in a beach setting or, kind of a beach party or, the entertainment, the nightlife, the bars, the pubs. That as a foreigner, that's their only real interaction with people and that environment in the kingdom. But as I've noted in other videos, and as I've heard discussed from many old hand kind of expats out here over the decades that have been here for multiple decades, and I've been here for a decade and a half, oftentimes the ones that have been here a long time will say, look, I mean, the sort of the entertainment zone mentality, whatever you want to call it, it only exists in like maybe 3% of the total population, probably more like 1.5%, 2%. The fact is, Thailand is very conservative, very, very conservative by any metric. And a perfect example of this is alcohol consumption. It's not uncommon here in Thailand that many people you'll meet, I would almost say maybe even more than every other person you meet, more than that probably, substantially more than that. I don't know where sort of the cutoff is, but substantially more than every other person you meet just doesn't drink alcohol at all. They don't drink alcohol, because, again, Thailand's culture and its religion, and there are multiple religions here in Thailand, but the dominant religion or the majority of folks are adherents to Buddhism, and that's just not something that's part of their culture. Drinking culture is not part of their culture. That's just one example. Many Thais are very conservative by any measurement you would make in any country. They are conservative, which then sort of begs the question, well, then why is Thailand such an easygoing place? And it's kind of been described, I've heard, as the Wild East. It's kind of an anything goes, laissez-faire, kind of live and let live kind of mentality. Well, it springs from the fact that it's not only conservative, they're very tolerant people. The people of Thailand are very tolerant. And it's this conservative tolerance that frankly, was one of the big things I came to love about Thailand. Because in many ways, and this is just kind of a personal thing, but I kind of feel like I'm a pretty conservative person when you get right down to it. And the paradigm of this kind of conservative tolerance is I find it interesting. My brother once told me, he said I was kind of an odd duck, which in the first time I've been called that, but he once told me, I was kind of an odd duck because I had the temperament of somebody that in the American sort of paradigm you'd call sort of a liberal, but I very much had the ideology or the ideas, if you will. Ideology isn't the right word, but I had the mindset, my thinking, the structure of the way that I think about things is very conservative. And it's very much a conundrum to combine those two things, because a lot of times I've at least seen most Westerners, if they're conservative, then they have kind of a conservative temperament, for lack of a better word. And then at the same time, liberal, quote unquote, have kind of a liberal temperament. And my brother just noted, he said, look, your mindset is conservative, but your temperament is very liberal. It's just kind of the way you are. I think he thought it was strange. And maybe that's why Thailand seemed to fit me like a glove, because that's very much the way Thailand is. Has a very conservative mindset. What a Thai thinks about for themselves, their own family, their own home, is very different than what they will tolerate someone else doing. It's not, they take the kind of live and let live attitude, and it's none of their business. And I really like that about Thailand. This notion of conservative tolerance is something that, quite frankly, I think more countries can learn from.